Hi, I'm Marty Grizzanti, and this is The Marty Grizzanti Show. As a full-time real estate investor and business owner, I have a real fascination of finding the key principles for business success and personal development. This show is a reflection of my personal mission to find out what truly makes somebody successful in business and in life. We will find tools and tactics that they've used to reach those levels. If you're the type of person who is not satisfied with average and you have a hunger for learning that will never cease, this show is for you. Welcome to the show.
This is what I'm at. This is what I was hoping for.
I'll be as appropriate as
handsome
possible.
man. Fresh cut.
Yeah. I've decided to look good, you know.
Dang.
Can't be a complete scumbag all the time.
I think Carhartt needs to start sponsoring you.
Yeah. It's quite the dichotomy. I found a Mercedes Benz in one of my parking garages.
Okay.
That was abandoned. And it's like the typical mobster car. Like I belong to like some gang or something and should be being chauffeured around.
Yeah.
And I bought it and I got it super cheap. It was a nightmare, but I got through it. And now I get out of this Mercedes Benz that looks like I should be in like a pinstripe suit.
Oh yeah.
Wearing Carhartt and Red Wings and Levi's and John Deere belt buckle.
I love it. And that's Dave Schreiber.
Yeah. I just don't fit the mold. I do my own thing.
You don't fit the mold. You are the mold. And literally you will remove mold if necessary.
That was a good one. I didn't see that coming.
Well, we're just gonna actually roll with that, and we're gonna just I always tell Dave, this is a funny story. I always tell people this. I always say, I know it's recording, we're not live, but we actually are. So it's a total mind fuck. Because it's like, oh shit, I don't want to but there's really no way, a good way of starting a show. I mean, you watch it, all these different podcasts, and like Rogan just kind of starts and then just like they're having a conversation, or, you do the whole, welcome back to the real estate, go hour. And we have a real special guest. I'm really excited about this guy. And it's like, I'm excited to talk to you, but I'm not, it's not like crazy craze. I'm just, I kind of learned that as this podcast has gone on. It's like, I am excited. I do get amped up, but I'm going to do it my own way. But I really did want to talk to you because, you're one of the first people. Now, I'd been in real estate, obviously, for a couple of years, but you're one of the first people I met at the famed and the prestigious coffee club, as it was, and still there's some stuff going on behind the scenes with different groups, which is great. Rochester and any other town has a real estate meetup of sorts, and but ours was unique. It was a bunch of just people getting together at 7 a.m. How did you find that group anyway? I don't even know if I've ever asked you that question.
Matt Truman invited me. Matt and I knew each other through college. I don't know if I'm allowed to tell everybody that he was in a fraternity or not, but we were in the same fraternity and met on several alumni weekends. And when he decided he wanted to put this together, him and Brett Iwanowitz, I was invited because Matt had been somebody that was a go-to for me. Just having started out, had so many questions. And I remember being in college on those alumni weekends and picking Matt's brain because somewhere inside of me, real estate piqued an interest. And I knew that if I ever had the opportunity, I would like to go down that road. So I went to the very first coffee club meeting where it was Matt. It was Matt, Brett, and Rick Doherty and I. And you're talking to these people. I'd never met Brett. I'd never met Rick. It was just Matt was the only one I knew. And I remember walking in. I think at that time I had just purchased my third property. I was right there. But these guys are talking about doing bigger deals. Matt was years ahead of where I ever thought I could be or what I could accomplish. And Brett was doing all sorts of things, also had a pretty nice portfolio, was flipping. And Rick was Rick was a legend at that point, flipping everything that wasn't nailed down in the South Wedge. So here I am, just a little guy, walking in, drinking the coffee, and I own 3 properties, guys. I want to do more.
Yeah.
But it was good.
And that's kind of the feeling I got too, newer. I might've been, I don't know how many coffee clubs had gone on before me, maybe like a year of those before I joined or so, but I felt the same way. It was intimidating, but that's like anything, right? And we've talked about this, you and I. It's like you join something, and then everyone seems to be like on this pedestal, and then all of a sudden, like something happens, and you just like you stay in it, and you just like listen to the conversations, and you start having the conversations, and then you start having properties and deals that come to you for whatever reason. But like just being around people who are doing things that are inspiring, you start taking action and like doing the things that inspire other people. And then you're like, now we're peers. It's not like anything else. It's like legitimate. We are peers. I am a deal maker and a deal doer. Like tell people, I don't think people know this, kind of what your portfolio looks like and where it is in those good things. And do me a favor, sit up a little bit because I think the mic is hitting your yeah. Try to, yeah, perfect.
Is that better?
Much better.
2001, and I still have corded headphones. So.
That's another Dave Schreiber. That's why you are the way you are. That's why I love it.
Yes. So my portfolio is primarily based in Park Ave and the surrounding areas. I own a couple just in the Upper Monroe, and then right across Monroe Ave, not quite Upper Monroe, but in that weird triangle between Monroe and Goodman. But primarily focused in Park Ave. It was an area so I started a career with the city of Rochester and had a city residency requirement. So to me, I only wanted to buy where I wanted to live, and I wanted everything close. And if I was going to manage a full-time job and a portfolio all myself, I needed it close. You think about travel time and all those other things that just suck your life away. That's what it is. So I focused on that, and I bought my first one, and then bought a second one, and then
let's talk about the first
third one.
Let's talk about the first one, because that's always like the biggest hang up, right? For people, David, it's like, I don't, how do I do it? How do I get started? So talk about that first deal and what that looked like.
So the first deal was a 2-family. It was on Boardman Street, which I'm sure most of the people locally are familiar with the bar JD Oxford's, if you venture out on a Wednesday anyway. And it's right across the street. So pretty good location.
Yeah.
Found it, got it under contract, at a number that would be embarrassing to say almost. Like it was in today's day, I paid $146,000 for it. It's a monster 2-family that's worth way more at this point. I just bought at the right time. I had wanted to be a farmer. That was my dream. I grew up working on farms. Family had farms. My grandmother lived on the farm. The farm is still a working farm in Webster, New York.
It's amazing.
It was a passion. It was everything I kind of loved. It's what I knew. And I got out of college. I started working for a company and just didn't love it. You burst down the doors thinking you're going to run the place in 5 years, and the reality is much different. And paths meander, and people appreciate different things, and my style isn't for everybody. I can be a bull in a china store, as my father likes to call it. So I tried to start a farm. That didn't work out.
What were you trying to grow?
We're doing cash crops, so soybeans, corn, and wheat.
Okay.
We had about 200 acres we were working at that point.
Wow.
So it's a lot, but on the scale of a farm, it's a little less.
Okay.
And the partnership just didn't end up working out. We wanted different things, had a different approach to everything, and the end of the first year came, and we just we went our separate ways. And that was tough because that was kind of like my last ditch effort. I wanted to do it. I thought I could do it. I just didn't think I had all the pieces. So kind of fell into a funk, and I was living at home at the time, and my parents recognized that, and they said, "What do you want to do, Dave?" And I didn't know, and I didn't know, and I didn't know. And I had a cousin who was doing real estate in Kansas, and him and I talked frequently. And it's like, dude, just buy one. Just buy one. Just buy a house. Like that's, you're 20, you're 23, 24, and someone's just like, oh yeah, just buy a house. Like that it's hard to almost wrap your head around at that point.
Yeah.
But armed with an iPhone and YouTube, I decided, let's pull the trigger. What the heck? Gave it a shot. And I contacted my cousin who was a realtor, and I said, I want to buy a rental property. So we found the one on Boardman, and I won. I went a little over asking, which was unheard of in the day, and we got it.
And what year was that?
That was 2000. I think we closed in January of 2012, so a little over 10 years ago.
Couldn't have been a better time within our this cycle, right? To buy. Yeah. That's unbelievable. So, okay, so you buy that property and then you get the bug, and then you're like, shit, I'm going to buy up all of Park Ave. Because guys, for those who don't know Dave Schreiber, he's not going to say this, but he has a sizable portfolio, 50 plus units and growing. Dave, I don't know if we can say this, but I think you're closing on one tomorrow.
I am. I'm closing on a 2-family in Park Ave tomorrow. So
yeah,
looking forward to it. And it's exciting and it's new.
Yeah.
And
it's a big motherfucker too.
Yeah. A lot of value add. And that's I think that's my focus when I buy something in Park Ave. I love a dumpster fire. I love them. If they need complete re-roofs or are just poorly managed and undermanaged or need new kitchens, baths, anything like that. It's a passion because I get to put my own twist on things. And I'm not a typical rehabber, I guess is what I would say. I prefer to restore rather than rehab. I'm sitting in my shop right now, and I'm surrounded by windows that we put paint stripper on from, original to the house, and took off 10 layers of paint and sandblast the hardware and reglaze all the existing windows on a sun porch. So I have a passion for the architecture as well as the area. And I love putting my own spin because when I do something, I do it with the understanding that I intend to own these for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I have no desire to sell at this point, and I'm sure somebody could change my mind, and I'm always willing to if the number's right. But I overdo it because once I leave a property, I don't ever want to go back. That's something that's important to me.
Yeah, that's a huge thing because I think a lot of people, it's hard, like if they have like a flipping mindset, you may not do a complete job and it's going to bite you in the butt after. But if you go into it thinking and knowing, I should say, that you're going to own it forever, you do things differently. And everybody knows it. The tenant knows it. You know it. The bank sees it when they do an appraisal, all those things. The realtor, when the time comes, all those great things. So I love that, that you do that. But getting back to it, so you buy that first one and then you just go bananas. Like, what happened?
Yeah, it started a little slower than that. It was a slow go. I was living there. I was living.
It was a house hack.
Yep. Well, it didn't start out that way.
Okay, let's go.
I did it backwards. I bought that one with a conventional, zero experience. The bank made me put 30% down, have 6 months worth of funds escrowed in an account. And, it was a real hurdle. And even
Wow.
my mortgage broker, who I love dearly, told me, Dave, you sure you don't want to live there? Like, this would be a lot easier if you just lived there and got some experience. I was like, no, I'm gonna be frugal. I'm gonna stay with my parents and be that guy that, just lives at home and owns a house. Like, why would I take away from the rent? And if I make money on this, that'll let me either buy more or change my position in life and ease my financial burden. Because coming out of college with loans and having to buy a car and everything else that goes along with that, $12.50 an hour of a starting salary just doesn't necessarily get you there.
Right.
So ended up moving in probably 6 months after I bought it. Moved in with a couple friends that were being displaced from the cottage that they were living at, and had moved in with a girlfriend who was getting her master's at the time. And we lived there. It was great. It was like that first little toe in the water of adventure. And then I started getting the hints, like, I don't love the house. What do you think about this one? And getting all those texts from my girlfriend at the time. So she found my second house, fell in love with it, was on the market, came off the market. Fast forward, came back on the market. Deal fell through. We went in, presented a strong offer. It was a 2-family on Harvard Street in the ABC neighborhoods, and just had that feel. Like, you walked in and you were like, "Wow, this is home. I could do this." And so I put in a strong offer. I was the only showing, and it was good. It was good. And then from there, I bought that one as an owner occupant with an FHA loan. And then you start doing the math when you look at the FHA loan paperwork, and you're like, well, I'm throwing money out the window hand over fist. My PMI, I think, was somewhere in the $300 range at the time. And that's just mortgage insurance. That doesn't cover anything other than the bank's liability. So I fast forward a year, I refinanced out of that loan into a new loan that didn't have PMI and lowered my monthly payment about $500 a month, all said and done.
Oh, wow.
So that changed the game there. And then I started looking. And that was the third house was the first time I ever bought something in cash and refinanced it.
Okay. So is that something you got hard money for? Did you raise money for that? Did you private investing?
I kind of conned my parents into doing it.
Love it.
I told them I was buying another one. I wanted to do a cash offer. I wanted to be aggressive on it. And they had it listed for $299, and I lowballed them at like $220. And the house needed some work, needed some love. Wasn't bad, but under rented, deferred maintenance, typical older style landlord. And I convinced my parents to loan me the money out of their 401k. And then I closed probably 30 days after the cash closing and paid them a majority of their money back, not understanding that some banks have seasoning requirements. So that was my first introduction to seasoning requirements.
Yep.
Learn the hard way. So then I spent the next year or so paying them back because I didn't get enough money from the mortgage to cover it. And I kicked in my own cash, but they're only giving you, I think they gave me 70%, and I was counting on 80. And 80 would have put me right where I thought it would have been fine, but that's not how the cards laid out.
That's a really interesting strategy. That's the first time I think I've ever heard that someone has done that. So for those who don't know, the 401k, you can get a loan if like you use it for, and then you pay yourself back at like a certain percentage.
Yep.
What is it, like 7-8%? Like, did you know that? I think it might be different for everybody.
Most 401ks allow you to take a loan against them and pay them back, and then that interest that you pay yourself back actually goes into your 401k.
That's it.
And there's some processing charges and some other things that kind of come along with it, but it's really a good option if you have the money sitting there to do, and you're not okay with the market performance. So.
Such a great dude. That is so good. There's so many people who their parents might not have, obviously, $400,000 laying around, but they have $400,000 in their 401k, and they're, got 20 years before they can even do anything with it. But if you can start building wealth, or through your family can start building wealth through that, oh my God, it's a no-brainer.
You leverage your connections, and that family is the first one to, like, because they know you. They know what kind of person you are. They know what kind of drive you have. And my parents, they were along for the ride, step by step, hand in hand kind of thing. Like they saw it all, the good, the bad, the ugly. My mom going to court, basically holding my hand, going to my first eviction proceeding. Because I just didn't want to go. It was.
Wait, this is a good story. What do you mean?
I had a couple people, a pair of girls that lived in one of my apartments, and they couldn't get along.
Yeah.
And that led to one of them just basically moving out, the other one refusing to pay the whole shop, but then also refusing to leave. And communication became strained and was difficult. And so it finally got to the point where it's like, I'm owed all this rent. I don't know if you're leaving. Your lease is ending. I can't even feel comfortable going in there to like show the place, because I don't know if you're leaving. So what? I lease the space to another tenant, and then you don't get out. Now what do I do? You're up a creek. So I started the eviction proceeding and actually ended up going to court. And at that point was when she disclosed that no, she was out and that everything was all said and done.
Oh, that's nice.
Well, yeah, it was nice until the judge was like, but I'm not going to levy a judgment against you. You guys can go to small claims court for that. So
what?
Oh yeah. Court in Rochester is not necessarily in the landlord's favor.
Yeah. Shocker.
Yeah, it's standard practice.
Yeah. Okay. That was just that I wanted to know that side story. Okay.
But my mom pushed me to do it.
Okay.
That was the reality.
Your mom got you to do it. Is she a farmer too?
No, not my dad grew up on a farm, chose a different career path. He ended up in the workers' comp field. And mom was on the lawyer track and decided to go more of the family style of things, and stayed home for a while, had part-time jobs, and then ended up being a secretary to a judge, but super, super passionate about the law, very good with reading and writing, always been a skill of hers. She always proofread every paper I ever had, and corrected it because I was incapable. Yeah, so she was just super familiar with the process, and she worked downtown, right across the street from the building where all the courts were held. And she's like, Dave, I'll just go with you. I know you're nervous because nobody likes to go to court. It's not necessarily fun.
No,
but sometimes it's the only way to solve a problem when two people disagree, and that's okay.
Yeah, you grow up a lot owning properties, that is for sure, and you certainly you experience things that you can't have you can't have a conversation with a buddy about this because they're like, what? I mean, you just can't. Like, that's why for people who are listening, you really want to be around. Not every day, but that's why those the meetups are so great, because there's not a lot of people who can really understand these things and that can appreciate these things, or even lend either just an ear or some sage advice on some of these things. So those are really important stuff. All right, then you do go bananas at some point, though.
Yes. I did the onesie twosie thing for a while, and I really, I explored every different avenue of how to do it. There's so many different strategies. There's just the conventional, okay, I have this cash in my bank account. I'm going to get a conventional mortgage. I'm going to go do it. Oh, I'm going to buy it in cash and then utilize a mortgage to refi out at what it's worth instead of what I bought it for and get all of my cash back. I'm going to go in, buy it low, rehab it, and then pull the money out. There's so many different strategies. So house number 3, did the refi. House number 4 was the first time I had ever blanketed a mortgage. Had done a commercial loan, pulled equity out of the first property I bought and bought the 4th. That was super cool because after I bought my 3rd property, I remember going to those meetings thinking, there's no way I can buy more. I just don't have the money. It's impossible. Nobody's going to give me money for free. I'm not going to be able to do it. So I'll just sit on my hands, do what I got to do for a year or two, regroup, and then start looking heavily again. And then you show up to those coffee club meetings and people are doing things differently. They have experiences that you don't. So when I mentioned that I thought I was tapped out, I started being questioned. Like, why do you think that? Well, have you thought about this? Have you tried doing it this way? Have you talked to this person? They do this all the time. And it really started to open my eyes about what was possible. So property number 4 got a great deal. A couple people had passed on it. They just didn't find the value in it. I actually ended up buying it from Matt Druin. We came to an arrangement. I bought a 2-family house on Thayer Street, and that house at the time I purchased it appraised for about $70,000 more than I was buying it for, which was fantastic. I'm like, sweet, super big win. So held on to that one. 5th one, I did another one-off. This was a dumpster fire. It was my first time doing a full remodel. So I took a construction loan. I opted not to go the hard money route. That one kind of just scared me. It was new territory, wasn't comfortable with it. So
is that a 203K loan? Did you do? You did a construction loan through the bank?
Yeah. Did a construction loan through the bank. So they gave me the money. I had to put 20% down.
Got it.
They gave me the remainder for the mortgage. I made interest-only payments during construction, and then I was, if I could show receipts, able to pull draws. And I think I had up to like $50,000 in draws. Well, me being me and stubborn, and that was a lot of work, I didn't bother. I just paid for it out of my own pocket. But finished the project, and then they reclosed the mortgage based on the after repair value. So at that point, I got all of my money back plus about $5,000. And it was probably right around the time I finished that somebody dangled another carrot. And I just can't say no. I don't know how. So I was brought an opportunity to purchase 4 properties, 2 on Park Ave, 1 on Vic Park A, and 1 on Vic Park B. And if you're familiar with Park Ave, those are some real gem kind of streets.
No
Vic
doubt.
Park A and Vic Park B, the old racetrack, just a beautiful, beautiful street with great history. And they wanted $1.25 million for it. And I started scratching my head, and I started going back to all those lessons I had learned on the first 5. And I was like, I think I got this. And I said yes. So put some good faith money down, and we're going through the process. We're reviewing all the units. I didn't even get to see all the units because it just wasn't a possibility. I was buying it through a wholesaler, and I'm getting down to the wire, and I'm starting to get cold feet. This is going to double the size of my portfolio. Like this was a jump, and I'm stressed out, and I'm driving myself crazy. So I reach out to the wholesaler, and it was Chris Cieslyak. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm getting nervous. And he's like, what are you nervous about? And my response to him was, I'm nervous because what if I fail? And I know I've told you this before. That's why you're smirking over there. But it's one of those things that just sticks with me, and I hear it in my head all the time. So when I told him that, He looked at me across the table and said, would just very plainly, like it was nothing. Well, then don't. And it was just that simple, and we just kind of carried on and moved forward with the conversation, and that was it. And as crazy as it sounds, that's all I needed to hear. Because I think I knew that I could do it. I needed somebody else to tell me that I could do it. And even though it wasn't maybe the most direct way of doing it, it's just like, don't fail. It clearly, it was the capability was there. So went through with it. Cost me way more money because I'm always terrible at estimating what closing costs are going to end up being than I thought. So took another one of those pesky loans from my parents using their home equity line. So I pay all the money back and then I borrow it again is kind of the theme. You know, I only had I blanketed those with two other ones that I had a ton of equity in and pulled most of it out. But I think I ended up borrowing, you know, somewhere in the $60,000 range. Not terrible, but it was enough. And those were a nightmare. Those were just that was a lot. I did not have the systems in place. I did not have the people available to me. I just was so ungodly unprepared to take on that much that quick. It was awful. I was losing sleep. I'm pretty sure most of the gray hair on my head is from that moment in time. I was stressed. I was eating my feelings. I was smoking real heavy at the time. I was shot, but you trudged through it. And it was probably the day I closed on them. COVID basically hit.
Oh, wow.
So couldn't show any of the apartments. There were a ton of vacancies. I did a lot of FaceTime showings and tried to get through it that way and got it all rented. But a lot of that, it wasn't stabilized rent. It was, I need this rented. And for every month this goes vacant, I'm going to lose money. So I would rather, you boil it down, a $1,200 apartment. If that goes unrented for 1 month, you might as well have asked for $1,100 and have somebody live there, and somebody paying the utilities, and somebody finding out what's wrong and having that income stream. And some people look at that different. Some people would rather chase after the higher rent so the property looks like it's performing better. For me, it's about somebody being there and caring for the place. And I know there's a level of wear and tear too, but that's just my approach. But it probably took me, I'm going to say 2 years to stabilize everything, to get rents where they should be. It was my first experience where several of the buildings had common utilities. So I was responsible for that: central heat, central electric. When I bought them, their spectrum was included. There were so many nuances to doing it that it took me 2 years.
How many units was that?
That was 18.
Yeah, that's a big
units.
jump. That's a big jump. Like you said, it doubled everything. And you know, I love that you did it, because you said it was like so painful and like it was a lot of stress. But like, if you think about growth is painful and there's a lot of stress. So yeah, you wouldn't be as good as you are if you didn't go through that. And so I think a lot of people try to stay in their comfort zone. I know we all say that, like, oh, and this is such a common thing, like, get out of your comfort zone. But it's comfortable being in your comfort. Like, that's why, I mean, it's like, it's literally like, but I like it here. Right? Yeah. I like,
I'm safe.
Yeah. It's
good.
Nice. It's warm and cozy here, but you're never going to be able to like have a cool story like this. Like, that's the point, is like, you're not going to be able, and oh, by the way, Dave, I know those 18 units you bought, has it doubled in value since then? Pretty close. Pretty close, right? So like, what looked like a really like tough deal, and again, yes, there's management that needed to be done, but hey, that's a part of being a millionaire, right? You got to freaking do some work in order to get that.
I'm allegedly a millionaire.
Well, right.
If you looked at my bank account, you wouldn't think so, but
that's
supposedly.
That's real estate for you. But okay, so that's really important. You didn't stop. First of all, kudos to Chris. Chris is like he's an interesting bird himself. I'd love to have him on the show. I've asked him a few times. It's not his thing. He's got like this confidence where he doesn't. I think he's kind of missing one of those, like that risk thing where like those people that climb those mountains and they're not scared at all. I feel like he might have a little bit of that. I'm not exactly sure, but he's definitely somebody that, what a person to talk to in that moment. Because one of two things: either he was like, I think this is what I think he was being very truthful and wanted you to do the deal because he knew it was going to be a good deal and it was going to work out, or he's just like a really somehow good salesperson and it was just like, just don't fail, and like that worked. so
I don't think it's the sales piece of it.
I don't think it is either. If you know Chris, but I think that was such an important thing to think about, and I love that it's buried in your brain now because you did that. I can't wait to see kind of what you're going to do next. Because like, do you feel like you have like another, now that you did that, right? Now that you had that scary moment, do you feel like you have to like find another scary moment? Like, do you have to kind of like go and do something similar now to like reach that rush, so to speak? Or what are your thoughts with all of this? Like, what's your next move? What are you looking at now? Like, where's your head at?
The scary moment, yeah, because you look back in hindsight and you're like, but I did it, and you're proud of that, and you love that. So for me, buying that much at once was terrifying. But even this year, I've bought 1, 2, 3, 4. As of tomorrow, it'll be 5 more within the last 6, 7 months, 9 months. It's September. Woof. I've done that, but I've also along the way geared myself to do that, built systems. So as I look back on how challenging it was to take ownership of these next 5 in a fairly condensed amount of time, I'm like, that wasn't so bad. What else can I accomplish? How far can I push myself? So I am trying to chase bigger deals, but I'm also, I don't want to say limiting myself. I just have such a passion for this area. I love everything about it. I love the culture. I love the walkability. I love the architecture. I love this space. And so it's primarily where I look. I wouldn't say no to something crazy that was a great deal somewhere else. I'm always looking. Everybody in real estate is always looking. I can't tell you how many automated searches, because you tell everybody what you're looking for, and that's the way you're going to find something. So I see everything that comes on the market, and I'm willing to do both. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I would love to own a 50-unit building. I would love to roll down and see one of these large high rises in Park Ave and own one of those. I think that would be such a unique experience and be so different that it would be the adventure that I need. But I also love the adventure of the singles. You have your chance to put your spin on something. And then to even further that, like, in real estate, in my opinion, tenants are my business. They are my customers. They are buying into the product that I supply. And my goal is to change a relationship. Many of them come to me and they're always skeptical when they first meet me because I'm a very candid individual. I don't have that prim and proper attitude about me. I tend to be a little bit more on the blue collar side of things. Not that I can't clean up, but I really I try to have as comfortable of a relationship and be as open to communication as I possibly can with them, and change their experience. There are a lot of bad landlords. There are far more good landlords than bad, but there are a fair amount of bad ones. So how do I change that? And what I found in doing that over the course of my career, my 10 years, is that even if tenants leave an apartment, they typically try not to leave me. So maybe there's a circumstance where you have a roommate situation and they're getting along fine, but one of them gets a good job, wants her own space, says, Dave, do you have a 1-bedroom? I say, yeah, let me show you these 3 that I have coming available. Tell me what you want. We'll narrow it down. And I would say 90% of the time I have something, and I move a tenant that I already have a fantastic relationship with, know that they pay, move them right out of that one into that one. And I would say 50% of the time, those other 2 roommates find a third. So then they stay and I keep that relationship. And it can create an accounting nightmare. My mother does my books, and when I have to move people, she gets a little antsy at me. And I don't blame her, because I fly about 100 miles a minute and she's kind of left to pick up the pieces a little bit. So
yeah, I know what that's like.
Nancy, if you're watching this, good job. I'm not, I guess at this point, I'm just not that afraid of anything. I want to do more. And I know that at a base level, that's what it boils down to. I have more in me. I've built the systems. I have the ability, and I know that I'm capable. And it's more than I ever thought. You track it back to when you first start down this journey of buying real estate. And I remember my goals, and I think about them often, of how self-limiting I was, where when I started out, I said, okay, I'm 23, 24 at the time. I'm like, by 30 years old, I want $500,000 in real estate, $500,000. That'd be incredible. And then by 35, I want $1 million. And I was so confident in that number. And I was like, I'm really pushing myself here, and I'm gonna drive to succeed. And as you go down this road, you realize that's not that much. And it's not enough to make a lifestyle out of, even to an extent. You that would be supplemental at best. And if you want to live this life and find the passion to live this life, you do need to grow in your own way, whatever that way may be. If it's volume, if it's quality, if it's location, there's so many different approaches. But you fast forward where now I'm 34. I have a portfolio that's, if you include tomorrow's purchase, which closing is set, money's in, everybody's ready to go, I just got to sign a couple pieces of paper. I probably I'm hovering right around a $7 million valuation in Park Ave real estate, which is so much further ahead, and I haven't even hit my 35-year mark.
Exactly.
And my contractor, the guy that helps me out, my maintenance guy, he's laughing at me, because I told him when I started, I said, I'm not buying anymore. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
The famous last words of a lot of real estate investors, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Now he's coming back to me. He's like, I think you got 2 more in you by the end of the year. And
he's not, I bet he's not wrong there too. If the right, and that's because here's the thing about what you were saying is, I'm with you 100%. I know you could do bigger deals. I know you could take down bigger deals. That's not it. It's more of like, you've done such a great job of branding yourself as, I buy, like, my buy box is this. And I think people know that now. And I think, and even more so, like, hey, this is something that is, I'm going to buy this. If it's in this wheelhouse, if it's in my buy box, I'm just going to buy it. So it's like your brand is so it's so well established now, which is crazy to think like it's not been that long, but it has really been a while. And because you've taken so much action, is that like it's hard for you not to do what you're doing right now because you love Park Ave. So why stop? You still love your, I know you say you don't, but I think you still love your full-time job in a way. You don't hate it enough,
absolutely,
right? To leave.
Don't hate it at all.
You don't hate it enough, right? And
No.
I think that's a really tough thing is like, I think a lot of people get into this because they hate their job so much. And they're like, and you're one of the guys is, I like my job. You told me that. You're like, I like my job. I don't really want to leave. I enjoy it. I enjoy what I do. And so you have that part too. And then you have another side business that you do as well, where I don't understand how you have the time for that. But if you don't know, Dave also does mold remediation. So give him a call. I don't know if he can take you, but if he can, he will help you for sure. He's helped us a bunch of times. But I guess that's important to know is that, yes, we can do bigger things when the time comes, but you're patient. I think that's not getting, I don't think that is a thing that people do a lot of times is like be patient. So I just want to commend you for that.
Well, thank you. And along those lines, Marty, I also recognize that I'm not the salesman. I'm not the sales pitch. I'm not the guy that's going to cold call these people. I'll have a conversation and maybe it leads to me mentioning that I would buy something, but that's usually the extent of it. The idea of hunting down deals to me it's not my strong suit. Where I am strong and why I think I've been confident enough and comfortable enough in my space is that I'm the follow-through guy. I'm going to tell you within 15, 20 minutes of looking at a place, whether I'm interested or not at whatever number you're coming at me with. And I will always give you honest feedback. And if I say I'm going to buy it, I'm going to follow through. It's that easy. I will figure it out. I will find the money. There's always the money, the Grant Cardone saying, if you find the deal, you can always find the money.
No doubt.
It's true. And you don't think it's true, but it's true.
Who's got my money?
Yes, there it is. Yeah.
Who's got my money?
So it's making sure that everybody knows what I want. And if they have an opportunity, that I'm the guy that they want to work with. So I make it as easy as possible. There's no strings attached. I don't jerk people around. This is what it is. I'm willing to commit if you are, and then follow through. The follow through is what gets a lot of people. You buy and sell enough houses, that. I mean, I'm selling my first flip right now, and my first deal fell apart. There was no follow through. They committed, then they didn't have the good faith deposits, and okay, we're willing to be a little flexible on that as long as you can show us the pre-approval letter and have funds available. I know you're waiting on money or something, and then it fell apart. So that follow through part is just, that's the reality. No one's going to do it for you. You follow through. You're going to do it, whatever it is, whatever it takes, and you set your mind to it. There have been nights. I think I worked for like the better part of 48 hours straight last winter. We got a couple of those. Really nasty snowstorms, and I thought it'd be a great idea to get into plowing.
Oh God.
Sounded perfect. Nothing like waking up at 2 a.m. to check for an inch of snow. and then there isn't an inch of snow. So you go back to bed till 3 and so on and so forth. And then by 4 a.m, you're out going. And I worked from, I went at midnight. The storm started early. Went at midnight. It's fun. I got a lot of friends that plow too. So we're all on like a group call, busting each other's chops, listening to people hit things and like hit bumps. And I went till probably 8 o'clock, got done just in time, went to work, worked all day, got out. It had started snowing again. I always do a cleanup run because all the plows mounding the snow at the end of the driveway, just push it away so you don't have that huge hump that bottoms out every car. And then it snowed enough to go around again and again. And before you know it, it's 4 a.m. and you're like, well, at this point, I might as well go find a 24-hour diner, have a couple cups of coffee, and send her right on up the road, because that's the way we're going to do it. And those moments are tough, but you get through them. And I'd say I'm stronger for them to an extent. I also learned that I love the idea of snow plowing. I love the first 3 or 4 times we go out, and after that, somebody else can do it.
So you're not doing it this
No,
winter?
I am.
Oh my God, he's insane, folks.
Yeah.
You can take the farmer off the farm, but you cannot take the farmer, I don't know, the rest of it. But you're just the work ethic, dude. I think people don't understand like what it really takes. And if you're listening, it's like, oh, okay. Like Dave's kind of buying the way a lot of the stuff he does. He's just a worker. If you really want it, you work. And then the biggest thing is once you get to that point, like, I think a lot of people are like, they fear the success, so they do some self-sabotaging things. And maybe one of those things would have been not buying that portfolio because you didn't have the confidence, but you follow through and you went for it, and you made a commitment. You told someone you were going to do it, you did it, and then the victors go to the spoils. You deserve what you get. Like you deserve every single thing that comes your way, Dave. I really believe that all the good things that are happening, you deserve them because of the work you're putting in.
Thank you. That's something that I've learned by example, though. You know, you if we circle back to that coffee club, that root coffee club, because I can trace a lot of my success to sitting around the table with people. And I look at the people. I remember leaning over to Matt Honeyford at one meeting, and I said, Matt, just take a look around this table. Just take a second. These are the people that are going to run the real estate market in Rochester. And it's starting to
You're not
become
wrong.
True.
Yeah.
No, because I have, everybody does such different things, but it's all in the same space. You know, I look at you and your partner, Matt, and what you're doing. And then I look at Matt Druin and his partner, David. And I look at Chris and Matt Honeyford. And, you know, there are tons of other examples of people that are just doing crazy amounts of things, flipping properties, I met a guy that was doing billboards. I thought that was so cool. That's such a different thing that you don't hear about. You got the short-term rental guys. You got people just all over the road it's so unique and diverse. And, you know, there are, I don't know. There's got to be 100 different things that I'm forgetting about here. You know, room rentals, management, just straight up maintenance services, realtors, mold guys like me. Like you just don't know. There's so many different segments to it that there's always a place where you're going to fit in. Whatever you want to do, there's a way to do it, and it all kind of can come back to the real estate. And I'm so proud to like talk to people like you and other people that I've kept in touch with, Matt Honeyford, Matt Druin, Chris, Ben, all those guys that we sat around that table when we were brand new. And now to look back, we're all seasoned and then some. So I go to the coffee club from time to time now. Tuesday mornings are a little tough for me. I have a bunch of early meetings, but every once in a while my schedule frees up where I can make it. And I go to that meeting and I sit at that table and people are looking at me like I used to look at everybody else.
Yeah.
And that is such an odd feeling because I don't look at myself that way yet. I don't feel like I'm where I'm destined to be and that I have to keep pushing, but people want to follow the same path that I did. And I, much like anybody when I first started, I'm an open book. Like it's what I did is not, I don't want to say overly special because I think it's unique in its own way, but I got here by brute force, sweat and blood and tears. Like that there wasn't some magic formula. I don't think I got lucky other than committing to hold this stuff for a long time. And that's where a lot of my wins have been, and a lot of my leverage to continue to grow has come from, is just the idea of holding appreciation and even a slight level of debt pay down, because we all know how mortgages work. But it's almost fun to give back. You give people your number. Some of them call, some of them don't. Some of them take you to coffee. Some of them don't. And you talk them through things, and you question them, and you push them like you wanted to be pushed, and like you and I probably were pushed. I mean, I look at you, and I'm envious of the commitment that you and Matt were able to make, because you both left your jobs. You had a great job. I'm scared to do that still. I love my job. I love the people I work with. I love my boss. I love what I do. But, working for yourself is alluring. It's a dream. It's something that we all want. I would love to just get up in the morning and look around and drink a cup of coffee, go for a run, and have the day to do whatever task I assigned myself for the day, rather than show up at 8, take a lunch at noon, come back, and go home at 5.
Ben, that may be your next scary point in your life, right? Because I don't know.
I know it's coming.
Exactly. Well, I want to be cognizant of Dave's time. Dave, where can people find you? We know your buy box now. It's pretty much anywhere in Park Ave that's, a decent, just send him anything that's not listed on Park Ave. He's already getting that. But if you have a off market deal in the Park Ave area, where can they, or just if they want to get in touch with you to take you to coffee, how can they get a hold of you?
I'm not a big social media guy. Never been my thing. Kind of drew away from my time to focus on the things that I valued. So I don't know. Can I just give everybody my phone number?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, you can. Yeah, absolutely. You go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah.
Never. All right. Sounds a little creepy, but call me. My area code is 585, and then it's 764-5019. It's my cell phone. You can call, text, whatever you need to do. I'm pretty available. I don't sleep much. I think we already established that. It's not my style. But yeah, I love meeting new people. I love seeing other people chase their dreams and do it their own way and follow through. And I want to be a part of everybody's journey, and I want people to be a part of mine. So love to connect.
I love it. That's a drop the mic, guys. That is the end of the episode. I was blown away with Dave when I first met him, and I'm glad that he is a person I met at the coffee club. He is an extremely successful and savvy real estate investor, but he's also a very good friend. So thanks for the time, Dave, and we will catch you next time.
It's great talking with you, Marty.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning into the Marty Grizzanti Show. If you're listening on Apple Podcast, leave us an honest rating and review. If you're on Spotify, make sure you follow us for weekly episodes.